What's up, world? This is Salim with Flip for Figs, and today I'll be reviewing the LEGO Adventure in Transylvania from the BrickLink Designer Program Series 5. Let's take a look.
Flip for Figs.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.
Alrighty, folks, if you don't know what the BrickLink Designer Program is, let me tell you. So BrickLink is a website that was established in the early 2000s, and it was essentially an online marketplace for Lego sets, Lego pieces, Lego minifigures, and people from all around the world can create their own little shops and sell, sets, minifigures, pieces to other people around the world. And it's been a fantastic resource for anyone who's been wanting to, either make sets that are long since retired and, kind of procure the pieces to make them, or make their own sets or their own designs. And, it's been fantastic, and it's been around for 2 decades. And around 2018, they decided to launch the BrickLink Designer Program. And essentially, it was a way to crowdfund popular fan designs of Lego of these sets. And once the sets got enough votes, then people could pre-order them. And if they met a certain threshold, then BrickLink, in partnership with Lego, using official Lego pieces, would package the sets and ship them to consumers. Now, Lego acquired BrickLink in 2020, I believe, and fortunately, they decided to keep the BrickLink Designer Program alive, except only now, although the fan designs are submitted on the BrickLink websites and that's where you vote, the pre-ordering or the crowdfunding phase and all of the shipment and purchasing of the sets actually goes through lego.com, and you can find the sets on the official Lego website. And so this particular set is from Series 5, and it was actually the most voted for set ever. In fact, the designer is a user named Sleepless Night, and he's had two other designs selected to become official sets already. The first of which was the Mountain Fortress from Series 1, and then you had the Siege Encampment from Series 4. And so this is his third, and in my opinion, third time is a charm, because this set is incredible. I personally had strayed away from the BrickLink Designer Program sets, mainly because I just don't have a ton of space, and I already have so many different themes and big sets that I plan to buy and that continue to be released. And I just knew that going down the BrickLink rabbit hole would just mean, an even tighter budget and an even tighter space situation. But when I saw this particular design, I just knew I had to have it. Absolutely love anything spooky themed. In fact, the Monster Fighters Haunted House set number 10228 is the set that brought me back to Lego as an adult. And so I've been yearning for another kind of spooky theme or spooky set. We did get another haunted house that was part of the Fairground collection, but that wasn't really a haunted house. It was more of a haunted house attraction. And so this set is kind of a spiritual successor in some ways to the Monster Fighters Haunted House. It's a successor to the old Fright Nights theme from back in the day, and also the Vampire Castle from the Monster Fighters line as well. So on top of that, I love the colors red and black, and it just looks fantastic. And it's a set that Lego themselves probably would have never made. It's not your typical Lego design. It's very dark. It's very gothic, and it makes it even cooler in my opinion. So as soon as this set was selected, I pre-ordered it day one, and now 3.5 months later, it's here. And let's take a closer look. The build is spread across 48 numbered bags, and there's also 4 additional large bags of extra pieces, large plates, etc. A small sticker sheet, and then no physical instruction booklet, rather just this one page here that has a QR code to the online instructions. The instructions start, and aside from bag 1, you need to start grabbing pieces from the extra non-numbered bags, and I actually had to open 3 out of the 4 to get the extra pieces, which was kind of frustrating. You start by building the base, and very early on, you get a shout out to former set designer Tiago, who designed the. And here you have the option of using this printed element or using a sticker for a non-printed piece for a gravestone. The base is quickly decorated with a lot of foliage, fallen leaves, as well as a staircase and this fun hidden skeleton. You start building a library as well as a prison cell, which will have a trap door to it, and a beautiful spiral staircase here, as well as the other side of the build, which starts with this ingenious mechanism. And it's actually a two-part mechanism similar to the one in the Haunted House Fairground ride. Then the brick wall and additional foliage climbing up, beautiful tiled floors on the second floor, um, as well as some more foliage around the stairs. This particular tower was a pain to build. It kept falling apart on me. But for every frustrating part of the build, there are some ingenious parts of the build too, like this wall, which hides the hinges when it's open or acts as a window when it's closed. You continue to add ornate detail after ornate detail, like these incredible windows, beautifully designed roof panels, turrets. There's just detail everywhere you look, whether you're low or whether you're high in the sky, and the finished build is absolutely breathtaking. But before we take a closer look, let's look at the minifigures. The set includes 13 minifigures, or 14 if you include this knight here on the end. Many of them are kind of generic, I would say. So just going through one by one, you have this figure, which is meant to be a younger child because it has the smaller legs, but they can bend. You have this kind of Sherlock Holmes style guy with that bucket hat in a neon green, which I haven't seen before. This man over here with kind of a debonair, suave hair thing going on. This guy who is carrying a lantern and he has dual sided face with some funny expressions. This bookworm over here, this woman who is like a sorceress or a banshee, and I believe she's the mistress of this fellow right here because there's a little Easter egg picture of her in his tomb, which I'll show you in a second. And then this is the head of the household himself, and he is meant for a really unique play feature, which I'll show you in a second. You have this gunslinger, this lady with the purse, this other lady who just looks completely unimpressed, this child who's got the really small legs that don't bend, this fancy dude with a scarf, top hat, and umbrella, a chef, and then, as I said, this is a full on knight minifigure, but it's meant to be a statue in the upper level of the castle. Overall, the minifigures, it's nice to have so many. I mean, 13 is quite a lot, even for a 4,000 piece set. I will say though that the fact that we really only have two spooky style minifigures in a castle like this is disappointing. Would have been nice to have some, zombie or old creepy caretakers or something like that. Um, I just think that this number of minifigures is excessive, especially since they're all just kind of, random visitors to the castle. So I will definitely be filling up the castle with some of my own spooky minifigures. All right, and here is the finished set, and this thing is just incredible. I mean, everywhere you look, there's just incredible detail. There's different nooks and crannies and caves and tunnels, and just like every single where place you look, there's leaves, there's foliage, there's architectural designs. There, literally no stone has been left unturned. And the set is incredibly striking thanks to its color scheme. It's an unusual color scheme for Lego. I feel like anytime they do spooky or haunted, they go with sand green. And so it's nice to kind of see, red and black, which is my personal favorite color scheme, and then the little hints of navy blue and gray are just really really set it off. And I mean, if you look at just the way the set is, there's so many different angles, there's turrets everywhere, and like I said, everywhere you look is just designed. There's no wasted space whatsoever. It's, so much thought and love was put into this design, and rightfully so. It was the most, voted for set of all time on the bricklink designer program, as it should be, because this thing is a work of art. And if you're a fan of castles, if you're a fan of anything spooky like I am, this set is going to check so many boxes for you. So to give you a tour, this is the main front of the facade. You have a sign here alluding to some train track, and I think on the original submission, there was a story about all of these people coming on a train, and you have this really ornate spiral staircase which leads up to the front door of the castle. There is just a beautiful, beautiful turret here with this dark navy blue kind of roofing. You'll see this really nice kind of lamp design here. There's a beautiful architecture on the stairs. Everywhere you look, there's just a tremendous amount of detail here, and the way that all of these pieces fit together is just fantastic. When I was building the set, I thought that there was maybe a little too much foliage, but now that it's all here, it looks very natural, that there's kind of been an overgrowth, and it looks really good. And yeah, I mean, I just can't say enough about this. Look at the design of that window, and this kind of is an homage to the original Fright Night series. I'm not sure why they didn't just go full on Fright Nights branding, but this appears to be a different design, but it's definitely similar to the Fright Nights logo from the 90s. You have this kind of, tower turret over here, which is beautifully designed, and the way that it just kind of pops out there, and you could see that it comes down to a point right there. Putting this together, as I mentioned, was really difficult, but it looks great. This main kind of facade of the front of the castle, or the back when you have it closed, but just look at the beautiful design here. It is kind of a shame that it's all in black, because you do lose a little bit of the grandeur of it, because it's harder to make out all the details, but it's just incredibly ornate and it looks fantastic. This looks wonderful. Everything is very sharp and pointy and looks menacing and very gothic. All right, coming along the side of the stairs, you'll see that there is a little um, concave opening here with what looks like a little urn. And then you have this vine here that goes up the stairs. You have this kind of tunnel section, which is a great place to add a werewolf, and I'll show you that in a second. And over here on the other side, you have all of these leaves and trees, and then this beautifully designed tower, which is hollow on the inside, but it just looks fantastic, very menacing, very gothic. All right, now let's look at the interior and all the features. Through the main entrance is this hall, which has a really cool knight figurine, and there's also a trap door that leads to a prison cell underneath that you can turn with a crank. Over here is the library, which is a beautifully designed little room, and only one book is removable, and it's the one that this character is holding. Top level right here, this is kind of just an empty balcony area, but in here you do have a little section with the like a little trophy room or a little treasure area. And you have a ladder leading down to this room, which is the main entry hall from the stairs outside. On the other side, you have this beautifully detailed room with a pipe organ and a chandelier that can fall onto a minifigure, with stairs that lead down to this awesome crypt here, which has my favorite play feature, where you can have Dracula rise from the dead, which is so freaking cool. And then you can close the set up for another mode of display. And here is the set when it's closed. And I have to say, I actually prefer it like this, which I was not expecting, because you obviously won't see the really ornate black Gothic architecture that's on the side. But I think the black can be a little overbearing and you lose some of the details. So I really love just the way this looks. You have, first of all, there's a lot more red to see, and red and black are my favorite colors. You get this fully enclosed balcony here, and just all the different angles look really wonderful. And so, unlike the Lion Knight's castle, which I display open, I think I'm going to be displaying this one closed, because I really like the way it looks. You could just see that, you have 360 degrees of just amazingness, and you do hide all of that Gothic architecture on the back, unfortunately. But as I said, when it's opened, it can get a little too dark, and so I really enjoy having, um, you know, the set closed, and this is the section that I told you closes the, it covers up the hinges when the set is open, but here it acts as a window. And I think that Sleepless Night was definitely inspired by the Lion Knight's castle, because the way that function reminds me a lot of the Lion Knight's castle, with a section that becomes a bridge when you open it, and then it's no longer a bridge when you close it. So it's just really ingenious. Very talented designer, and his talent just shines through everywhere you look on this set. It's fantastic, and I absolutely love it. Especially, just look at that. It's like, it's just perfect. As somebody who grew up with the Fright Nights castle back in the day, as somebody who loved the Monster Fighters line and the Vampire Castle, this set is just fantastic. If I had to find something to complain about with this set, it would just be the minifig selection. I think for such a creepy gothic castle, it would have been nice to have some creepier minifigs. Like, this chef could have been like a zombie or a ghoulish kind of chef. Um, Instead, I know that all these characters are meant to be visitors to the castle, but it would have been nice to have some more castle dwellers. And so I thought it would be fun to add some other figures. So the first here is Basil the Bat Lord. This is from the Series 25 minifigs, and he is a homage to the old Fright Nights set. So that was the Fright Nights logo. Again, I'm not sure why they didn't just go with the Fright Nights logo. I think that would have been cool. But I feel like he is a very fitting minifigure for this castle. So I'm going to add him. And then also, I just felt like this tunnel would make for a good place for a werewolf to hang out. And so I'm going to add a werewolf in there. It's kind of tight, so I'll just have to stick him in. And then I had this minifigure lying around. I don't even remember where I got it, but I think it's from the Lego movie too. And she's a robot. At first glance, I thought it was kind of a zombie, but it looks like it's a robot, but she looks evil enough. So I'm also going to add her into the mix. But you can have a lot of fun just kind of adding some spookier minifigs. I definitely need to get some classic ghosts, some more skeletons, and maybe some zombies to add over here. Alrighty, well, there you have it. That's the Adventure in Transylvania. This set is incredible. If you're a fan of Gothic architecture, if you're a fan of spooky Halloween themed kind of things, if you're a fan of the colors red and black like I am, if you're a fan of incredibly designed Lego set, I mean, this set checks so many boxes. It's no wonder Sleepless Night has had three sets that have gone on, maybe even more. I don't know. I kind of stopped following up on the BrickLink Designer Program after I voted for this set and it was selected. But this is a set I couldn't resist. I mean, I would clear out my personal favorite Lego sets out of the way to display this set. It's that good. Everywhere, every angle you look at, it's just phenomenal. There's so much to see. The display presence is striking. I will say that I was really surprised to prefer it closed as opposed to open, because like I said, the Lion Knight's castle I displayed open. And most sets I feel like I usually will display them the way they do on the box. This one is displayed open on the box, which makes sense because they wanted to show off the incredible like black art gothic architecture in that main window. But to me, when it's closed up, it looks more striking because you see more of the red. You see a lot more of the angles. It's not as flat as when you're looking at it from the when it's completely open. Um, the build itself can be arduous in places. As I mentioned earlier, there are some parts where it's really flimsy, stuff falls apart. This turret in particular kept falling apart on me. And I also noticed some quality control issues. I don't know if that's like an issue with just Lego in general these days, or if this is because it's a BrickLink set, but I feel like I had some pieces that were the wrong piece. Like if it was a 1 by 1 brick that's supposed to have a Technic pinhole, I would get one with the kind of like little plus sign hole for that type of Technic pin. So there was a couple situations like that where I got the incorrect piece. I also noticed that these little window frames that sit inside these castle windows, they used to kind of clip in and just stay there, and these kept popping out, falling out. They don't really click in anymore. So again, I don't know if that's Lego in general or that's because it's a BrickLink set. This is my first BrickLink set, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. The other thing I noticed is with the instructions, there's, the way that some things are put together. It wasn't a challenging build per se, but you do have to pay close attention to what pieces you're going to need for any particular page, because sometimes they'll just have two new pieces, one on top of the other. And unless you're looking at all the pieces you need, like the inventory you need for that specific page, you may just put the top one. So that's something that I haven't seen before with Lego instructions, especially in recent years. Whereas this one, it wasn't unusual for two new pieces to be added at the same time in the same place. And so, again, I don't know if Lego like proofread the instructions or they just went directly with Sleepless Nights directions as well. I also don't know what level of involvement Lego has after the fact. But yeah, overall, this is an incredible set. It's, if you're watching this review and you haven't pre-ordered it yet, then you're going to have to get it on the secondary market, which is a shame because this is a set that I think if Lego had released it to the general public, it probably would have sold a lot, because this set is amazing. And I think that it's one that anybody who's a fan of Castle or a fan of anything spooky would really enjoy. Um, so yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this review of this Adventure in Transylvania. And if you are building it yourself, please let me know if you too had issues with some of the build processes, specifically that turret there, and also with, maybe some mismatched pieces or stuff not fitting together as well as it should. Other than that, I do hope to catch you next time. If you're a fan of this video, and I release new content every week for Lego, Star Wars, action figures, statues. So I would love to have you as part of the Flip for Figs universe. So please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.